listening to Sonic Footprints with me, Skylar Grey. This is episode 2, Where There's a Will, There's a Way. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sonic Footprints. Today I have a very special guest, Todd Mandel. He's my manager and my husband. But first, before we do that, I want to get everybody up to speed on what's been happening over the past month. I thought I would have more time to do more podcasts, but it got really crazy, and so I wasn't able to do any more. So I think I'm officially going to call this a monthly podcast, even though this time I'm a little late even for that. Hopefully next time it'll be more exact. So over the past month, I think the biggest news is that I put out a new single, Cannonball, featuring ex-ambassadors. If you haven't heard it yet, you can go get it on iTunes, but I highly recommend going to actually watch the video on Vivo because I had so much fun making this video. The song is about empowerment and, kind of like being the underdog and fighting your way through. And so I wanted to show that kind of symbolically in the video through a series of really surreal battles, like a cop fighting a knight. There's a dance battle between a Native American and a breakdancer. And I'm also in it fighting a guy that's much bigger than me. I obviously would not win in real life. A lot of blood, be warned, but I like that kind of thing. And there was actually a real live wolf on set for another scene, and that was really cool to meet the wolf. He actually wanted to kiss me, and so he jumped up on me. But this 200-pound beast jumping up to give you love doesn't feel very good. Its claw slid down my back, and I had a huge scratch from it. So I went around the rest of the day telling everybody that I got attacked by a wolf, which was pretty badass. Anyway, you should go check the video out if you get a chance. The song features ex-ambassadors who are also signed to Kid in a Corner. They're my label mates. The song was actually Alex the Kid's idea. I told Alex when I started making this album that he would have control over 2 to 3 songs. That's what I granted him. And so this is one of his picks, I guess you could say. And his idea was to put me and ex-ambassadors on a song together because Alex has had a lot of success as of late with ex-ambassadors and Imagine Dragons on alternative radio. And that is a realm that I want to break into. I've always at heart been an alternative artist, but because of the way that my career has gone, I've kind of gotten thrown into that pop world. I wrote a bunch of pop hits for other people, so everybody expected me to do that for myself too, So with this album, especially being a very alternative sounding album, he was just like, it might help to pair you with this band that's doing great at alternative. It might open people's eyes, to you being an alternative artist. So I understand the political play there, not totally against it. Another great thing about having a song like this, which is energetic and empowering, is a lot of times that's what people are looking for when they're, picking songs for commercials or movies. So they get a lot of syncs. And when you're watching TV and you see the Jeep commercial, for example, and Renegades is playing in the background, even if you're not really paying attention to the song, it subliminally gets into your system. And having a lot of those type of syncs, it kind of creates the demand on radio. People want to hear more of it. So that's kind of the strategy, I guess, that we're going for with this song. Artistically, it's not my favorite song on the album, but it does have a lot of energy, which I need, and it'll be fun to play live. And it's definitely not as cheesy as Come On Let Me Ride. So I'm pretty happy with that being my first single. A lot of artists hate their first singles. It's really common. So I feel like I'm, in comparison to other artists, I'm in a good place. Interscope has been really supportive of the song and therefore supportive of my album, which that's all I care about. That's what makes me happy. If Cannonball gets people to listen to the rest of the album, then it's done its job. That's great. So like I said before, Cannonball is about, the power of will, and how even if you're the underdog, sometimes your willpower can bring you the win in the end. So I just want to talk a little bit about that as far as how it relates to my life. I guess the biggest relation of that concept to my life is the fact that I chose music as a career. It's one of the hardest careers out there because there are no rules, there are no blueprints. You just have to kind of make it up as you go, and everything's always changing. Technology's changing. The sound of music is changing, and you have to keep moving and keep creating and keep yourself inspired, which is one of the hardest parts about it. And also it can be laughed at, like when you're young and you tell your parents you want to be a musician. Luckily I had supportive parents, but I know a lot of people who didn't, and they said, you're crazy, you got to be a doctor, you're never going to make a living being an artist. So it's kind of an underdog position already if you choose to do music. But I think what I've learned over the years is it has been my willpower that's gotten me this far. There's a ton of talented people out there, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of them will never see the light of day as far as having a career in music because, talent isn't everything. And it gets really hard. And I've seen a lot of my peers give up when shit got too hard. There's been so many times when I could have quit. I wanted to quit. I tried to quit. I think at the end of the day, it's the fact that I kept coming back to it and I kept being persistent. And I really think it's the commitment you make to it that eventually makes you win. If you're putting in all the right work, the right energy, and you're persistent and you have talent. If you push forward and keep going, and this can relate to any career, I think that it's only a matter of time before your talent is recognized. So I guess that's what Cannonball represents for me. It represents that fight that I've had my whole career to, when I fall, I get back up and I keep pushing through. Where there's a will, there's a way. So other than Cannonball, over the past month, I've pretty much just been nursing my broken finger. Really sucks. Broke it playing basketball. Can't play guitar. So there's that. And then I have been going back and forth to LA quite a bit, finishing up the album. I keep writing new songs, so it's going to be really hard to pick a track listing because I just have so many songs that I like now. I think it'll be about picking the songs that go the best together because I want it to be a very cohesive unit, this album. Okay, so one more order of business before we bring in the special guest. I'm going to answer some questions from fans. Just a few quick ones this time because this is a long podcast. Okay. Hey, Skylar Grey, what program do you use for recording things? I use Pro Tools mainly for vocals, and a lot of the tracks that are produced on my album, the drums and stuff happened in Logic, but then it gets brought into Pro Tools. And then when I'm writing, I use GarageBand a lot, actually, as a tool, kind of like a modern day tape recorder, because it's really user friendly and easy to just open my computer and be mobile. But occasionally, but very rarely, does anything I do in GarageBand actually make the record. Sometimes it does. Okay, second question. You said that you had the balls to do what you would listen to, but if the new album is not successful, what are you going to do? See, to me, the whole point of making the album that I would listen to is that even if the album isn't successful, I'll be super proud of it and happy to play it every night. If I made an album that I didn't love and it wasn't super successful, then I'm left with nothing. Third question. Do you smoke or drink to write your songs, or do you do it sober? I drink wine a lot. Not a lot. I don't get super wasted. Not usually. But I do love to have wine in the studio. It helps me loosen up and be creative. I don't smoke, maybe occasionally, but not really. The last time I smoked was with B.O.B. actually, and he got me really stoned. And we were supposed to like write a song or something, and that obviously didn't happen. We just talked all night about, I don't even remember. So anyway, that's it. So now we're moving on to the portion of the show where I invite my special guest up. So here he is, Todd Mandel. Hey, babe.
Hi, this is Todd.
He's a little shy on the mic just because he's never really in that position.
Is this thing on?
But I felt like it would be the right move to have him be the first guest on the show because he's the closest person to me in my career and knows the most about me.
And the other person didn't show up.
No, actually, it's because we're sitting in Utah and the rest of the team is in LA.
Right.
So we only have this option, but I think it's a good one. So I think because you have been such a mystery to the world, we should talk about the beginning, how this came to be, a little bit of your backstory, and then talk about some of the current events that are happening in our business right now. So start by just, telling them who you are, where you came from.
Well, again, this is Todd, and I'm from the South, you may be able to tell, even though I don't think I have an accent anymore. And kind of grew up there and eventually migrated out west. Been in several different businesses and kind of transitioned by default because of you.
Yeah. Well, just so everybody knows, Todd was never in the music industry before he met me.
Didn't even know what a record deal was.
Yeah. And before music, what did you do?
I worked in the sports industry and did a lot of similar stuff, but...
What'd you do in the sports industry?
Main thing in my prime was management, which is what I do now. Very similar skill set, only it's a little bit different cast of characters and different standards. The music industry is more of the wild, wild west, where sports industry is definitely a lot more structured.
Okay.
And so...
How do I compare to an athlete working with me?
Skinnier.
What else?
So basically, there's an ABCD kind of blueprint for a lot of other industries, including sports. And what you do in the industry that you're involved in, there's not a blueprint at all. So it's more just kind of figuring things out and creating your own brand and sustaining it. And that's a big job.
To give you a little backstory on us working together, well, what happened is, this is a story that's never been told publicly before, by the way. I was living in Oregon, kind of quit the music industry because I was kind of fed up with it. But I was really strapped for cash, and so I had posted online, I'll come play in anybody's living room for $200. And one day, I got this MySpace message that said, will you come play for 45 minutes at my party at my house in 2 days, and I'll give you $1,000. So of course I was like, hell yeah, that's a lot of money. And I don't think he was actually expecting me to say yes, but I got on a plane and, I was there Friday night. And so I came in to his house and I was
sitting outside.
Yeah, he was sitting outside getting his hair cut. He had his barber over. He was wearing basketball shorts and he had full sleeve tattoos. So, but when I first saw you, I was like, this guy is not my typical fan. I was very intrigued, to say the least. So after the show, after the party, I hung out and we had a really, really long conversation about...
Till 5 a.m.
Yeah, I stayed till 5 a.m. We were talking about, my career, how it had gone downhill. And he asked me, well, what would change your life? And I said, having a recording studio of my own would be the number one thing that could change my life right now, because having to watch a clock in a studio where I'm paying an hourly rate is impossible for me. So I said, if I had my own studio, and learned how to use it myself and didn't have to rely on anybody to create music, that would be ideal, because then I would be able to make records, even if it was just independently, and sell them at my shows.
Which I thought would be $1 million.
Yeah, because he didn't know anything about the music industry. He thought a recording studio was going to cost $1 million. So when I broke it to him, it would be 10 grand. He went into his safe and he grabbed a stack of bills, 10 grand in cash, and slapped it down on the table in front of me.
However, you said it was late, and we'll talk about it another time, and didn't accept it.
Yeah, because in my experience, when people give you something like that, it doesn't come free. There's always some type of expectation, or you end up owing them or something. Then a week later, I was in New York and I was there to play a show, and Todd just got on a red eye and came to visit me, basically.
Just to check out what you actually did in your real life and see what it meant to be a musician in New York, essentially.
Right. What did you see?
A lot of carrying things, a lot of transportation problems, a lot of late night, early morning get-ups, and...
What did you see in the apartment I was staying in?
Oh, I saw it was a mouse, and I had never seen really a mouse in somebody's house. And so it freaked me out, but I didn't tell you for 2 years that I saw it. But I felt so bad, I offered you to not stay there because I thought a mouse would jump on you.
Yeah, so he offered me a key to his room and said, after your gig, if you want to come and stay at my place, I'll sleep on the couch. So I ended up doing that.
Yep.
And then at the end of the trip, he basically said, you know what, I really think you should take this money, because he saw how I was living and saw how I was, struggling. And
well, I think I saw that if you were going to succeed, you need to get yourself into a space where you can just do what you do best.
Mm-hmm. So I ended up taking the money.
I knew she would.
And got everything I needed for 10 grand and set up my studio in my cabin in the woods in Oregon. And then we didn't see each other for a while after that, because I wanted to be alone for a while. I needed to find myself again. Kind of was on this soul-searching journey out in the woods and challenging myself in nature and in the recording studio. So we reconvened later. But that $10,000 ended up being the best investment you ever made, because
you wrote Love the Way You Lie in that little studio.
Yep. Anyway, so from there, we had to make a decision, because my career went from nothing to suddenly everybody was calling me and I didn't have a manager. And so I said, why don't you try being my manager, because nobody else is going to be as invested in it. And you handled it like a champ. Like he didn't even know what a publishing deal was. And then suddenly he was talking to my publisher about splits on songs and negotiating all of this stuff.
I guess what started out as a short-term thing became a long-term thing, and we really haven't slowed down since.
So anyway, that's the story of how we came to be. That's how we're sitting here today. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what a manager does on a daily basis?
So basically, I guess every manager is different, and I'm only speaking for myself, but every day it's you creating opportunities and constantly, staying on people for different reasons, making sure that you stay relevant and kind of fighting for you, keeping people motivated, I think is the ultimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's almost like hustling.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to use that word, but
it is.
Essentially that's what this industry is.
Creating opportunities and money.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
These days, labels aren't giving us enough money to do everything we want to do creatively.
Right.
So I'm actually putting a lot of my own money out of my pocket to make sure everything's happening. Like even on this tour that's coming up.
Right.
I'm not making enough money on the tour to pay for my own band. So, or my lighting or any of that stuff. And so I'm actually digging into my own pockets in order to do the show I want to do every night.
Well, yeah, it's important because especially for you guys out there, they want to see a good show and you want to present a good show and represent your art. So sometimes that cost exceeds what a label, or you would just normally make to offset those costs for sure.
Right. So you create the opportunities on the side.
Corporate gigs, college gigs, and a lot of that has to go with having a great agent too, which I'm sure you'll get to. But yeah, it's kind of combining all of your resources and making things happen. And I think it's actually sad that a lot of good artists don't get to keep doing what they love because they just literally can't afford it.
This tour that's coming up.
Yes.
You're way more
Lots of work.
involved. You're way more involved than any manager I've ever seen.
Well, it'd be easy for me just to hire certain people to do jobs. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm the one that cares the most about how it looks, how it sounds, how you feel about it.
How much money we spend
How
to get
much,
it done.
yeah, absolutely. So obviously I have people that help me and that type of thing. But I wake up and go to sleep with emails about microphones and pedals.
How many shows are we doing on this tour?
I think it was 30 something.
So that's 30 nights in a hotel, and we have
times a lot of rooms.
Well, we have six people traveling with us.
No, 6 rooms.
How many people do we have traveling with us?
More than 6.
Like 9, right?
I think we have 10 plus a canine.
Oh yeah, we have dogs.
Yeah.
So if we have 6 rooms a night for 30 days, basically.
That's 180 rooms, and then we're doing some other stuff too. So yeah, about 200
but you
rooms.
book all those rooms, and you make sure that he personally books those rooms.
Relationships.
Yeah, and tries to get the best rate possible in every place because that adds up really fast.
Well, every dollar you save, you can put towards other things, so
Exactly.
it's very important.
Okay, so now I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on currently.
Yes.
Like if you looked at your phone right now and open up your email account, what kind of subjects are
golf
there?
clubs. No.
I mean career music related.
Basically, today, just getting a mix and master of a song that needs to be done called Closer. I think you talked about it on the last podcast. That needs to be done by Monday, which is very last minute in this industry because there's a lot of people that have to work on it that are busy. And the reason for that is there's going to be tour packaging, which all of you can go out and buy when you see her at a meet and greet in your respective city. And
Nice plug.
But there's a CD that you'll be able to buy and she can sign at the meet and greet at the live shows that has Cannonball. And in addition, you get a free song, Closer, which I think you'll enjoy.
Why don't you just open your phone really quick and
All right.
Okay, I'm going to say a number. What's the 5th email down from the top?
It is touching base with a production manager rather for the upcoming tour about what we can and cannot get away with on stage setup.
Because we're the opening act.
Well, yeah, when you're direct support, there's a lot of time changeover issues and just gear on stage in general. There's going to be a lot of gear. So you have to be able to move it quickly and it has to all aesthetically fit and make sense. So yeah, just going back and forth with that and lighting, sound consoles. And
so what are we able to get away? Are we going to we're bringing a lighting guy.
Yes.
But we're not able to actually bring lights.
We are not bringing our lights this time, but nevertheless, it will be impressive because I'm bringing an extraordinary LD, which is the lighting designer.
Why are you starting to sound like a robot?
Am I sounding like a robot?
No,
Because I guess because I'm reading the emails that you want me to speak of while I'm talking.
Okay.
What's next? What number?
14.
Okay, that's just 4 down. Basically, that is an email regarding the terms for the song Closer, of which you wrote. Well, yeah, production, fees,
Well, I
splits.
wrote that one myself.
So yeah, luckily this is a good example because it doesn't really happen that much, at least in our world, but yeah, you produced and wrote the song. So you had a little additional production, and that's what we're discussing here.
Dan Heath added some stuff to it.
He also did the I Know You song for the 50 Shades of Grey movie. So you guys have a great working relationship, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, he co-produced it. And
so you were just figuring out how much we were paying him. And
right. Fees, splits, and all that kind of stuff. Production points. A lot of stuff people probably aren't interested in.
I don't think they're not interested in it. I think that they just don't know because nobody ever talks about it.
Well, there's a lot of layers, I think, when it comes to especially releasing an album. whether you use samples, how many people co-wrote, how many producers there are, and figuring all that, that's a whole nother conversation. But a manager does that as well.
Yeah.
Budgeting. I think budgeting is something.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, we forgot to talk about budgeting. But
so yeah, you're constantly monitoring how much money we're spending on the actual recording process because we have a budget to work under.
And this one, I think we've been kind of micromanaging for over 2 years. So there's a lot of stuff on there. It can get
expensive as time goes by.
Very expensive. And yeah, if you go over, you don't get more.
Yeah.
So got to be smart.
Okay, let's do one more email.
20.
Okay.
This one is dealing with merchandise.
For the tour?
For the tour and some other stuff. But basically, doing graphic design, figuring out the numbers that we want, how to ship it, all that stuff. And I'm sure you'll be very involved.
We're expecting the designs back any second.
Yes. Actually, I just got some designs back.
Just now?
Just now.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Interesting.
What, you like them?
Well,
don't show me yet.
I'm not going to show you yet. I don't know if I love them, but there's definitely some positive potential. Yeah, I see where you're going to tweak it and kind of like it.
Okay. So do you think that most of your day revolves around emails and phone calls?
Absolutely. More emails now than ever. I try and stay off the phone as much as possible.
Because you don't want to get head cancer?
Because I don't want to get brain cancer. And also I find that it's more effective to write instead of maybe where you could become emotional.
It can be more dangerous, though, too, to email.
Yep. Always assume your email is going to be forwarded to somebody else.
Yep. We've learned that the hard way.
Yes.
What's your favorite movie?
Good Will Hunting.
Quote something from it.
How do you like them apples?
I think we should end on that.
Okay. Let's eat dinner.
Okay, I'll go make it. Thanks again for listening to Sonic Footprints. If you have any questions for the next episode, hashtag Sonic Footprints on any of my social media pages, and I will try to answer.